Hey there, toy collector friends and Batman fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. I'm the time-travelling toy collector, and this is another entry from the Batman Automobilia collection that ran, more or less around 10 years ago now, give or take. And this is one of the special editions. It's the Bat Tank from The Dark Knight Returns graphic novel. I think it also made a few other cameo appearances. I think not least, if I understand correctly, as it's not something I know a huge amount about, but I really love the design of this thing. It's an absolute beast. But I think it turns up very briefly in the Zack Snyder edit of Justice League. I think there's a shot of Batman standing on top of it. However, its main appearance, I think, was in the graphic novel, and it supported the work of Batman and his team taking down the mutants. But I could be wrong in that, but I don't think I am. But I believe it's a graphic novel that sits outside of the standard established DC universe timeline, and is billed as being Batman's final adventure, but then he's had probably numerous final adventures since then, you know, because that's the beauty of being a cartoon and comic superhero type thing. So this Bat Tank it's just, I mean, my goodness, where to start, really. Look at the level of chunk on this. It's got an articulated neck. It obviously doesn't work on this because it isn't a toy, nor is it designed to be treated as such. But I think from some of the illustrations, this portion, the sort of what we presume to be the cockpit area, can actually tilt up and down to be aimed accordingly. I mean, these tracks are something to behold. They remind me a little bit of a Cobra Hiss tank, if you know what I'm talking about. If you're a G.I. Joe collector or were a fan of it back in the day. It's reminiscent, to me, this is very reminiscent of that. I know it's obviously very much not that, but it is reminiscent to me of that, is the point that I'm making. So we've got a nice little diorama there, which we'll have a look at in a second. It's lenticular, as ever. Which I think's got some artwork of the mutant forces on there. But this is a heavily loaded up vehicle. This is robust. This is not going to take in universe. I mean, not in real life. This is going to take some real punishment. And I love how the cockpit area is, by design, of course, sort of bat-like in its appearance. The rest of the body, definitely not. I don't think there's anything that suggests that. Well, maybe you could say that it looks a little bit like the wings are folded in of a bat. And that's the face, excuse me. And that's the face and the head. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic vehicle. Right, let me pop it down here. I'm going to remove the crystal case. And we'll have a quick look, as we like to do, at the lenticular diorama. So yeah, I think those are that's the mutant army that later in the story end up becoming the sons of Batman. And if you're impressed with my Batman knowledge, don't be. It's just research that I did before recording. So I'd love to say I had encyclopedic knowledge. I do not. But I think this really works because it is arguably cartoony and it's comic booky. It does lend itself a little more to being a bit kind of, you can really see that there's an element of, I feel you can see much more here. There's an element of 3D-ness. If you look at the mutant leader, that's who that is, I think it is, there, we can kind of see behind him as we move it, you see? So I kind of like that. You can see the lenticular layout when I shine the lights directly on it. So yeah, this one's a real win for me. They're not always, but this one's a really good one. So I'm going to pop this back over here just for, you know, context. But now we come to the main event. And this is one of the heaviest ones, I think. This is definitely, and it looks it, let's be honest. But this is an absolute, as I said already, and I stand by it, an absolute beast of a vehicle. Look at that frontage there. I mean, I suppose to an extent I can't tell you that there's a huge amount of detailing, because there isn't really. It is a battle tank, so it doesn't want to have too much going on the outside that can be damaged. But what we do have very clearly are these guns at the front, this armor plating which sort of doubles up as creating that sort of faux bat front. More cannons up here, presumably some concealed weaponry around there. That we have the treads, which are phenomenally pulled out. Look at, I mean, they're going to take some damage without ever coming astray. A little something I like here is that, I don't know if you can see if I put my finger behind it here, this is actually open, so it's not just thrown together to go, oh, here's a section bang. It is actually designed to say, look, this is a tread, these are the component cogs, it goes round. It's not just a single piece. There are gaps here for you to see behind it, which I think is a nice touch. We come back, have a nice look at that spinal point, which, as I say, I think is designed to give some flexibility and adjustment to that cockpit section. We can see sections there which presumably allow for access, possibly another access port there. This side doesn't really give us anything that's too dissimilar or too different from the other side. But again, we can really see the pulling out of the gunmetal grey on top of the far duller dark metallic of the treads and the cogs. We have that front section, again beautifully pulled out with the if you like minimalist detailing associated with this hunk of warfare. Like all of them, I'm very careful, of course. It's fixed in place with the screws, so you could unscrew it and maneuver it, but again, it's not designed to be used as a toy. It is a display piece, but I think it's a wonderful display piece. I think this is lovely. I think it is possibly one of the strongest entries, and they're all pretty strong. You know, there's one or two slightly less impressive, probably is doing it a disservice, but there's one or two that are slightly less impressive. But I really think this is up there with some of the more impressive ones. Again, paint applications, there's a slight dusty hue or muddy hue to the tracks. I'm not sure if it comes out particularly well in the video, but it is there. There's a slight greying of it, or browning of it if you prefer, which does give a sense that this has been through a variety of landscapes to take on some real battles. But otherwise, yeah, this is it's a very straightforward bat off black color, and it is I think simple, dumb, and probably very, very lethal in some upcoming bat fights. In terms of the quality of the paint apps, as I've mentioned, there is some good pulling out of silver and some of the mechanics. The rest of the body pretty much the same all the way through. And again, I've said this, I think, in the Batwing video, and I think in a couple of other videos recently as well. It's when we see Eaglemoss, who produced this, do some really clever thinking with their paint apps. They don't go crazy. By reducing it down, by not overpopulating it with unnecessary paint apps, it makes it a cleaner look. It gives me and others like me less to moan about when the paint apps don't line up, for example. This does not have that problem. There may be some people who know this vehicle and know its actual on-page graphic novel detailing far greater than I, and might say, ah, yes, but it would benefit from some additional paint apps around the cogs, or there should be some running lights here and here. And maybe that's true. I'm not for a second suggesting it's not the case, but I don't think it overly detracts. In my opinion, I don't think it overly detracts from the quality of this model. I can understand why there might be a degree of mini frustration that it doesn't quite match the page illustrations. But again, this is just another iteration of that art form. So it's the people producing it are entitled to, as they've licensed it, to interpret it how best suits them. And again, I don't think it necessarily does any damage to the visual impact and the presence of this this beast of a Batmobile, you know, because it's still classed as a Batmobile, but it's a tank. Let's be honest, it's a bat tank. And it does have, again, I'll go from an aerial shot if I can. I might just pull out slightly here to support this. It does have a design on the base, which is again a little bit sort of rocky road where there's chunks blown out of the tarmac. There's not much to see really other than that. There's nothing particularly amazing with the ground. It doesn't come with any additional elements like some of the others do, although admittedly not many. So ultimately, what do we think? Do we think that this is something that you should have in your collection? It's quite old now. The collection, I don't think, is still available. I'd be very surprised because it's, as I say, it's an Eaglemoss, but there may be others that pick it up. You may see it at conventions or on the secondary market, and because it's not currently being produced, that will have an impact on costs. I personally am really glad I got this when I did. It was worth every penny, as was really the entire collection, so I'm glad. I stand by that collection. But I hope you seeing it as giving you some insight into whether or not this would be something that you would be interested in having in your collection, and if so, great. If not, also great, because I want to make sure people have the ability to make informed decisions about any purchases they may be considering, because these things, you know, they're not cheap, and they also take up quite a bit of space, I'll have you know. So it really is a considered purchase on several levels: practicality and finance and all sorts of other things. So, you know, if this video has been helpful in that, then please do like it. It's a small click for you. And whilst you're doing that, if you could also subscribe to the channel. Like I say, it's a small click for the fandom of all of these wonderful franchises, but a massive help to me and to the channel, so I'd really appreciate it. Maybe you want to check out the other Batman Automobilia playlists. They're available within the channel, and if you're interested in other stuff like Doctor Who or Marvel or Transformers or Star Trek or Star Wars, have a little look around. There'll be something for everybody, and a few other strange miscellaneous things as well. All that's left for me to say is thank you very much for spending the last 15 minutes or so in my company. I know there's a ton of stuff you could be watching, and you chose to spend time with me, so I'm very grateful. I look very much forward to seeing you in a future video, so I'll just say I'm the Time Travelling Toy Collector. This has been the Eaglemoss Hero Collector Bat Tank from The Dark Knight Returns, part of their Automobilia collection, and I very much look forward to seeing you in a future video. Just remember that a thing of beauty can be a toy forever. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye for now.